Ever stumble across one of those puzzles that kind of makes you step back and think, how do I even think?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we're diving into today, a conversation between Carlos and Casey, you know, total puzzle fanatics. And they are buzzing about this idea for a language game, but it's not your average word game.
Oh, no, not at all.
It really gets you thinking differently, and it's all based on this thing called a Bongard problem.
And that's a whole other rabbit hole, let me tell you.
Yeah, so what's so cool is they're taking these puzzles beyond just like, pictures and shapes and stuff. They want to unlock the code for, get this, language-based Bongard problems.
Which is really getting at the heart of how we categorize information, right? Like, how do our brains even do that? Especially in the world of AI, that's the real challenge.
Okay, so paint us a picture here.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly a Bongard problem?
All right, so picture this. You've got two sets of images, totally random at first glance, right? But, and here's the kicker, there's a hidden rule, a pattern that connects all the images in each set. That's a Bongard problem in a nutshell.
Okay, so it's not like those spot the difference things.
No, not even close. It's way more about deciphering the underlying concept that unites them, figuring out the why, the rule behind the curtain, like how our brains are constantly sorting, categorizing, making these connections without even realizing it, which is something AI still really struggles with.
And that's what Carlos and Casey, they just find this whole thing so captivating. They're not just like designing a game here. They're trying to figure out how to make AI think more like us, And the examples they come up with, mind-bending, some of them.
Oh yeah, they get pretty wild.
Like, tell me, what connects the phrase blue in the face and the words row, like in a boat, and bow, like you're taking a bow?
See, right there, that's what I'm talking about. They hit on this brilliant point about how words can have multiple meanings, those little quirks we use every single day without a second thought. But for a machine, for AI, those nuances,
Yeah.
total puzzle in themselves.
It's like they're peeling back the layers of how we use language, how it actually works.
Exactly.
And they don't even stop. Oh, no. Next thing you know, they're off on this whole tangent about metaphors and idioms.
Oh, I love a good idiom.
You know those sayings we have that don't actually literally mean what they say?
Right, kick the bucket. Nobody's actually kicking a bucket, but we all know what it means. And that's a huge hurdle for AI. It exposes this gap between simply processing information and truly grasping meaning, emotion, even humor. Like, how do you program a computer to understand that?
It's like trying to explain a joke to someone who doesn't get sarcasm, right?
Oh, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. It highlights those limitations with current AI systems. Like, they're amazing at crunching data, processing information at lightning speed, but then you throw in the subtle stuff, the nuances of human expression, and pretty much they're still trying to figure that out, but that's what makes what Carlos and Casey are doing so fascinating.
Right, and just when you think you're starting to get a handle on their whole game, they throw this curveball.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Geographical oddities.
Geographical oddities, huh?
Like they suggest using words for places along the Nile River, or even, get this, Michigander slang.
Michigander slang, that's a new one. See, that's where their creativity really shines through. They're pushing the boundaries here. What even has a category in these puzzles?
Right, it's like the rule book goes out the window.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you've got Carlos's aha moment trap.
Oh, tell me you've fallen for that one.
Oh, every single time.
It's like he lays out this perfect trail of breadcrumbs. You think you've cracked the code, you've got it all figured out, and then bam! He hits you with this word that just blows your whole theory out of the water.
It's masterful, but it's also kind of the point, right? That moment of being tricked. That's how our brains work. We're always trying to fit new information into these existing frameworks. And when something doesn't fit, that's when we're forced to reevaluate, to learn, to adapt.
It's like those aha moments you get when you're studying something really hard and it finally clicks.
Yeah.
The struggle is kind of what makes that breakthrough so satisfying.
100%. That's exactly what Carlos and Casey are tapping into with these language-based Bongard problems. They're making us really examine this fundamental process of how we categorize information, which, let's be honest, underpins pretty much everything we do, how we make sense of the world around us.
It's true when you think about it. We take language for granted. I mean, it's not just about words. It's this whole intricate web of meanings and associations and rules we've built up around them.
It's wild, isn't it? Like, we're all just speaking the secret code all the time, and we don't even realize it.
And here's the thing, right? This whole time, Carlos and Casey, they keep coming back to this idea of how these language games, these Bongard things, how it could actually be used to, train AI.
Yeah.
What's the connection there? It seems like a big leap, right?
It is a big leap, but it's also a fascinating link, right? Because like we were saying, right now AI, it's really good at processing tons and tons of data, information overload. But when it comes to that abstract stuff, the nuanced stuff, the human stuff, like language, that's where it hits a wall. And I think that's what Carlos and Casey are trying to do, bridge that gap.
So you're saying by making AI like grapple with these linguistic curveballs, all these puns and metaphors and stuff, that's going to help it think more like us.
Exactly. They're raising the bar for AI development, right? It's
Mhm.
not just enough to process information anymore. You have to be able to decipher meaning, even when it's hidden beneath like layers of linguistic complexity.
It's like they're saying, okay, AI, you want to play with the big kids? You got to learn to understand puns. You got to get sarcasm.
And regional slang. Don't forget about those geographical oddities we were talking about. That's a whole other level right there.
It makes you realize, wow, human language, it's like a code all its own.
Right.
We take it for granted, but it really underpins like everything, how we think, how we interact with the world.
It really does. And I love how this whole deep dive, right? It started with this one specific type of puzzle, but it really makes you think, what other hidden connections, what other patterns are just swirling around us in everyday language? It's like we don't even realize it half the time.
It's like Carlos and Casey gave us these new glasses to see the world through, and suddenly even the most common phrase, it becomes this puzzle waiting to be solved.
Right. And who knows, maybe by training AI to decipher all these puzzles, maybe we'll unlock something about ourselves in the process, about our own WN linguistic abilities.
Now that is a fascinating thought to end on. So next time you're hit with one of those words with like 5 different meanings, or a metaphor that makes you pause, remember Carlos and Casey and their quest to turn language itself into a game. Never know what hidden connections you might find. Until next time, happy puzzling.